except you had to sign that statement if any the kid dies. Now they do that. Make you feel good about bringing them in. And the doctors in all cases had I can recall in my own youth, the terror of watching that ether mask go over my face. I didn't mind the operation, but when I saw that big black mask coming and going to smother me. And so the doctors and I talked about that, and they said, well, it's a light plastic mask now, and we'll let you put it over their mouths. And of course, you have to be very cheery with the kid. You have 8-month-old child there, and you're hugging him and doing all this other stuff. And I recall the first time I did that, the kid's eyes, as he realized what was happening, looked at me, and his eyes said, "You traitor." "You evil man." And I walked out of there completely shaken, because the kid had just, I said, well, there's nothing going to happen, I'm just going to put you on the table, and I'm going to do this and that, and then all of a sudden I have to reach with my hand and put this plastic mask over the kid's eyes. The eyes have a way of saying things to you. And that film clip is a study in eyes as well, the trust and the innocence and the courage of those young men, as opposed to the fear in Eisenhower himself that it wasn't going to work, and that even though it wasn't going to work, he was going to lose 7 out of 10 of them. And yet the speech had to be heroic. The speech had to be calming. The speech had to be, well, don't worry. And yet inside was this inner turmoil that we get the chance to see later when the adjutant comes and says, it wasn't 70%, it was only 20. And you see in Sullivan's face that he understands that even 20 is too much. There's another extraordinary moment earlier in the film which ties us to this book here and to one of the most puzzling things in human nature and in war. When Churchill calls Eisenhower in, Churchill's idea is that the British Air Force and the American Air Force will win the war by bombing every city in which there is a German soldier. And Eisenhower's response is, I am not a military person to preside over the destruction of cities and all that they represent. Think of that as opposed to what we did in Iraq and Desert Storm. We now think that the city is the place to go. And Eisenhower decides that it's going to be the youth of America on the beaches that are going to liberate Europe so that cities will not be destroyed. And there is this very peculiar sense of reverence for the city, which is behind it. The city for Aristotle, who comes after Homer, is a natural outgrowth of being human in the same way that a nest is a natural outgrowth of being a bird. Aristotle didn't think of cities as artificial. He thought of them as organic, because they then become the womb in which future generations develop. So to destroy a city, and this is a book about the destruction of a city, the destruction of Troy, was a horrible act in the same way that going and smashing a bird's nest with eggs in it would be a horrible act. Because a city is a womb in which a culture, the way in which we protect each other is through culture, is in the course of nurturing future generations. And we have some sense in the craziness of the Arab extremists that they knew that what they wanted to destroy was something key in New York City and in Washington. If you can get to the city, we have withdrawn from 2 holy Islamic cities in Iran because we know that if we were to destroy those cities that are holy to Islam, we would, even the army knows, we would turn the whole of the Islamic world against us. So that's another key to the Illiad, the destruction of cities. And I have no reason not to think that it's not historically accurate. Eisenhower says it's better to lose our best and brightest on the beaches to wrest Europe from Hitler than it is to bomb all of the cities in which there are German soldiers. That's a very hard choice, and it's the choice that we are now not making. Our sense is, for God's sake, protect American boys and use these terrible bombs to go in and make mishmash of the cities, because you can always rebuild a city. I'm not so sure. Augustine's great work is called The City of God. Cities are not just something extraneous. Anyway, we're going to have a beautiful treat here this morning because Sister Andre has agreed to say a few words about and read a beautiful meditation she wrote on the death of her